Hi, welcome to Learning Kitchen Live, Home Edition. My name is Jessica Birch. I'm one of the dietitians at Community Servings, and this is my kitchen. Before I get started with today's recipe, I just wanted to take a minute to thank our friends at Boston Scientific for supporting Learning Kitchen Live, and remind you that after the session is completed, the recipe for today's session, as well as the information handout on our spotlight ingredient, which is lentils, will be posted in the comments section below. You'll also see a link to a survey that if you have a chance to fill out, we really appreciate it. It helps us to make sure that we're providing the content that is most relevant and most interesting to you, as well as kind of gives us some feedback about how things have been going so far. All right, so with that being said, let's get started with today's recipe. I hope you can hear me over the weird sounds that my oven is making right now. I apologize. Let's talk a little bit louder. So today's recipe is warm lentil salad with roasted sweet potatoes and broccoli, and we're going to make a smoky yogurt sauce to go with it. I came up with this recipe the other night thinking about the flavors that I was craving right then, but also really wanting to find something that I knew I could make really quickly because I have a small person at home. I don't have a lot of time to be standing over the stove. Something that I knew was going to be affordable. So all of the ingredients for this recipe, with the exception of the olive oil, came to a total of $7. That's pretty great when food prices keep going up. And something that I knew was going to be really nutritious and delicious for my family. So this is what I came up with. I hope that you'll give it a try and see what you think for yourself. So the other thing about this recipe that's really nice is that you can start it and everything cooks in about the same amount of time, so you can get everything going and then walk away and come back in 20 minutes. So for that reason, I've pre-cooked everything because we don't have 20 minutes for you to stand here and just kind of watch me babble. I mean, maybe we do, but let's not do that. So I'll just go through what the different steps are so that you can try them for yourself at home and share some nutrition tidbits as we're going along. So lentils is the base of the recipe. If you are not familiar with lentils or don't use them, I really encourage you to. They are a legume. They are legume-like beans, full of fiber, plant-based protein. So why is that important? We want to try to get as much fiber in our diet as we possibly can, because if you've tuned into any of my Learning Kitchen Lives before, I always say that it's like a broom. Fiber sweeps our system clean. It helps to make sure that our GI tract is working well. It can remove extra cholesterol from your body, can help reduce blood pressure. Fiber is a good thing. And so if you can find a food that you like that has lots of fiber in it and incorporate it into your regular routine, that is fantastic. The other thing about lentils is that they are a plant-based protein. So we can get the protein that we need to keep our muscles strong, our immune system going, without eating animal proteins. That's going to help cut back on the amount of fat that's in your diet. It's going to keep your heart happy. Great, great option. So I really encourage you to give some plant-based proteins a try. The other thing about lentils is they're cheap. So a whole bag of lentils was $1.29. I can get at least 3 meals out of this. And you can also get them canned if you don't want to do dried. And they're even, well, I think it's actually about the same price for a bag of lentils to a can of lentils. If you do get a can of pre-cooked lentils, it'll make your life easier because it'll go even faster. But look for some low sodium options because you want to control the amount of salt that goes into your meals, not the canning company, right? Okay, so when we're cooking lentils, you'll measure out the amount that you want. And if you have a sieve like this, you can use that, or you can spread them out on a baking sheet. And you'll just dump some in. I used a cup of lentils in my recipe, but just for demonstration purposes, that's about, I'd say about 1/4 cup. And you want to look at them. So here, I'll get a little bit closer so you can see. They look like little stones, right? The thing about lentils is the way that they're harvested, little stones might end up in here as well. So you want to give a little look-see, make sure that there aren't any little stones in there, because you don't want to end up biting on a stone, right? Then you can give them a quick rinse and then put them in your pot for cooking. So for this recipe, I used a cup of lentils, 3 cups of water. I stuck them in the pot with a little pinch of salt, a little dash of olive oil, like just a tiny dash, I didn't even measure it. And then I took 2 garlic cloves and smashed them. That's all I did. Smash them with a knife, with something heavy, whatever you've got, and peel the paper off and throw them in the pot. What that's gonna do is give your lentils a lovely garlicky flavor, enhance that flavor even more, make them even tastier. So then you bring it up to a boil, reduce to a simmer, and let them cook for about 25 minutes, and oh, voila, cooked lentils. And we're gonna use that for the base of our salad. All right, so then the next piece was my veggies. I did sweet potato and broccoli, 2 different types of vegetables, and I roasted both of them. Chopped them up into, chopped up the sweet potato into little cubes, and cut the broccoli into little florets, tossed them with olive oil, salt, and pepper, and roasted them. You can see that I separated them on the plate, or not the plate, the pan. The reason for this being is that sometimes the broccoli will cook a lot faster than the sweet potato, depending on the size that you cut it, or any vegetable that you're cooking. If you're doing a mix of vegetables, it's good to separate them, because if one is done before the other, you can pull them off and let the other finish so you don't burn one, right? Or have one that's undercooked. Not too tasty. So we'll let those just sit for another minute in my oven while I show you how to make our yogurt sauce. I realized that the last recipe I did also featured a yogurt sauce, which clearly indicates that I like them a lot. The reason I like yogurt sauce so much is it's really tasty. It adds a lovely creaminess to whatever it is that you might be cooking. But it's much better for you than, say, adding cheese to a salad like this. Not that that's a bad thing. You could totally substitute like feta or some sort of crumbly cheese. But cheese has a lot of salt, and it often has a lot of fat. Making a yogurt sauce is a great alternative. Plus, my son, for whatever reason, adores yogurt sauces, so it makes my life easier it makes it easier to get him to eat a lot of things if I use the yogurt sauce. So I'm gonna put lemon in my yogurt sauce. You can get a pre-squeeze, one of those little bottles of lemon juice and use it that way, or use that, and that's totally fine. I like fresh lemons, and again, not expensive for this whole recipe, about $7, including the lemon. But when I'm using a lemon, I really like to take advantage of the whole thing. I paid for all of this, right? I might as well use all of it, and there's tons of flavor in this. So don't waste it if you don't have, or if you can use it all. So if you have, this is, I think, like a microplaner. You don't have to use something like this. You can use a small cheese grater and remove the zest, the yellow on the outside. I'm gonna put that in my bowl. I don't know if I included this in my recipe, to be perfectly honest. I just remembered it when I grabbed my lemon. But what this does is it adds even more lemony flavor to the recipe. So it's easy. These are not tough skills. You just go around and grate off that zest. It smells so lemony right now. This is a great way to kind of infuse an extra little zip into a meal too, especially as we're starting to go into the winter months and things get cooler and colder and stewier. This will kind of add a little spring summery zip to your meal. And by zesting it, what you're doing is you're putting in some of the oil from the rind of the lemon, and so that will infuse throughout the whole dish. So I'm gonna dump that in there. And now I'm using taking greater advantage of my lemon. Next, I'm gonna roll it, and that will start to break down the juices inside and make it so I can get more out of it when I squeeze it into my bowl. I start with the lemon because there's always seeds, and I always drop the seeds in, and it's way easier to dig the seeds out when there's nothing else in the bowl. Yeah, there we go. Seeds, already dropped one. If you have a nice little sieve, you could do that. I'm just using my hand. They're clean. Squeezing the juice in, trying to catch as many of those seeds as possible. And I'm gonna do both halves of this lemon, which is about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. This is how lemony I like my yogurt sauce. Start with half a lemon. If it seems like a whole juice or a whole lemon's worth of juice would be too much for you. And you can always add more in. All right, let me rinse off. So I've got my lemon juice in here. And next what I'm going to do is add in 3 tablespoons of plain Greek yogurt. 1, 2, that's a big old one, 3. And next, the olive oil. Oops. And you want 2 tablespoons of the olive oil. And now this is when things get really, really tricky. Fork. Stir. That's it. If you have a little person or multiple little people at home, this is a great job for them. It makes them feel involved in what you're doing. It will more likely, or they'll be more likely to taste it if they've had a hand in the creation of the product. And it really could not be easier. So what you're doing is you're just trying to emulsify or bring together all of those ingredients so that you can't see the oil by itself, the yogurt by itself, the lemon, it's all mixed in. Okay, now I'm gonna do a pinch of pepper, a half a pinch of salt, a full pinch of salt, and mix that in. Then for the smoky component, so this is totally up to you whether or not you want to add it in. Smoked paprika is a really great spice. You can get it at the dollar store for $1 for a jar, which is great. Or I'm sure lots of other places for more or less the same amount of money. And so smoked paprika has, you know, this beautiful smokiness to it, reminiscent of things like bacon. You know, bacon has that delicious smokiness that we're really attracted to, but we don't want to necessarily include bacon in all of our dishes, or maybe we do, but our bodies don't want us to. So this is a great way to get that smoky flavor into a dish without all the extra fat. Plus it makes things bright and red and beautiful. So I'm gonna put in a teaspoon. If you're not used to using smoked paprika, if you're not sure about the flavor, again, start with a smaller amount, just like with the lemon juice, and you can always add more in. Mix it. Then here we go, our nice pink red sauce. That's gonna complement all of our other flavors really well. Just gonna give that a quick taste. I might even put more smoked paprika in, but we'll see. Maybe I'll put a dollop of it or a sprinkle of it on top at the end. So there's our yogurt sauce. I think that took, I don't know, 5 minutes. If you weren't talking the whole time, it would probably be less. So we're gonna assemble our salad. I've got my bowl that's got my lemon zest in the bottom of it. And my lentils, nice and cooked, warm. I'm gonna just dump those in. Ding. Again. Okay. Give those a stir to get that lemon zest mixed through. And I can smell it. The heat from the warm lentils hitting the lemon zest. It's good stuff. Okay. Next, where'd my thingamacoo go? There we go. I've got my roasted vegetables here. So this is 3/4 of a sweet potato. You could do the whole thing. I always kind of have a moment where I think that's gonna be too much, and it never is. When you roast vegetables, they always roast down. There's always less of them at the end. So just mixing in all these, those ones ran away. Grab them in a second. Broccoli and sweet potatoes. If you don't like broccoli, you could try other vegetables. Roasted Brussels sprouts are amazing. Roasted kale works really well. You can do roasted carrots, roasted turnips, roasted everything. Okay. Could that have been any easier? Super fast. Vegetables and lentils cooked in the same amount of time. We've got a plant protein based meal here that's going to be great, full of fiber, B vitamins. The sweet potatoes are full of those carotenoids, so really good for your eyes, good for your immune system, all sorts of delicious, yummy things. If we're thinking about using food as medicine, this is a great way to do it. And this will be a wonderful meal in and of itself, or if you wanted to use it as a side, you could certainly do that too. I really encourage you to give it a try. Thanks so much for taking the time to tune in today, and check us out next week for our next Learning Kitchen Live. Take care. Bye.